Hi, hi, hi. I really don't like this light behind me, man. This work better. Alright, back to a new video, my guys. And today's video is. Maybe I shouldn't say back to a new video. Maybe I should, like, back to a new note. Back to a new recording. Because technically, a video is because of the note that I wrote. Not, well, a video. Well, sometimes I do off script adventures because they're not scripted. So back to a new script. Why the fuck not? So today's script is we always have to change until change isn't necessary. And then we become change. Cool? We always have to change until change isn't necessary. And we become change. Uh, I think in this what I'm trying to like point at is the fact that on one side of the equation there's effort. On the other side of the equation it's just the motion. So momentum. Maybe momentum is the bigger discussion in this one here. Effectively, every time we're embarking on something new, every time we're so I'm trying to distill the smaller changes that we do automatically and than the ones that we do intentionally. So let's go back to when we were just born, and I think it's fair to say that human beings are basically the only mammal that's born helpless. And I say that because the first three, I guess, because we can't fend for ourselves, right? Like, we have absolutely no form of activity until the age of like a year or so. Maybe other mammals the same, maybe like, because I'm thinking like when we're born with exceptional grip strength, and we have some reflexes built in. Like if you're falling down, a kid kind of like goes like this. Like these are reflexes that we're born with. And we have strong grip strength because I think at one point in time we kind of like held on to the mother. So maybe we're not the only mammals that actually that are born helpless. Maybe we could also consider like monkeys and stuff like this. But the bigger difference here, monkeys, koalas. But I think the bigger difference here is our mobility and our ability to kind of like just be sovereign, move on our own. That completely isn't there when we're kids because we're like duds. All we do is just chill, cry, poop, and expect somebody to feed us. And if somebody doesn't feed us, that's it. We won't poop unless somebody feeds us, and we'll keep crying until there's nothing there. So, and then like the intention behind change, right? Because ultimately, as we gain awareness through evolution, I guess, because as we eat, we kind of like evolve and our consciousness sinks in. And then we start noticing our parents, we start noticing them. I mean, I think the first thing we do is we're able to notice like the mother and father. And then after that, we start basically engaging with them. And slowly but steadily, our the consciousness that's growing inside of us starts gaining awareness of the reality and the surroundings. And what effectively we start doing is we start actively trying to be a part of it. That's like when you see a child playing with their father, basically kind of like just like moving around, and then eventually, basically, when they're on their stomach, raising their head to see them, and then maybe like walking on all fours. I don't know if that's what they call. That's when they start being called toddlers, and then eventually, like because all over the place. And then they stand up, and then after standing up, they start basically walking and running and start grabbing things and like having those decisions. So the early stages are our intention is basically pure because it's like directed to just being able to exist. But at some point, what happens is we kind of like we find a certain like momentum in our movements and our change, and then somewhere our momentum stops becoming in our physical change and in the physical approach, and it starts becoming in our mental approach. Because we start realizing the things that we like, whether we like to, and again, like I'm still like kind of discussing the story for children as they grow up, they're gonna start playing with stuff, and they're gonna start preferring stuff for others. They're gonna start thinking of seeing other people, interacting with other people. They're gonna start considering things they probably didn't before, and that's basically the mental evolution. And sometimes they're I'm just gonna I think that's where emotions kind of click because you're acting like yourself until like some emotion comes up, whether it's a traumatic experience or whether it's just like an interaction that didn't go as you wanted. So that would change as well. The process of moving in a certain direction, which makes you feel better, regardless of the reason. And I think at one point we have that control to a certain level where we're comfortable just starting to make decisions. And when it's starting to make decisions towards the things that we like, and being intentional about this is what I want, so I'm moving in this direction. And I think here is where the change is always guided, because we always have to change until like change isn't necessary. And then ultimately, because of our existence and whatever it is that like we formulated a certain kind of like baseline for it. So every step we take, everything we move towards starts establishing itself through us instead of the other way around. Because the first thing we do is when we find something that's interesting, we start moving in its direction. So there's like that intention behind that's what I want. And instantly, with that intention in place, you're starting to change, whether you like it or not, whether the people around you that know you like it or not, whether you're looking at yourself as a changed person or not, that starts to change. And so, because there's an intention, because there's a need, because there's a survival mode, there's something there that's kind of saying like change or else. Some that you're valuing that, right? You're the one making a decision. I would die if I don't do this. So I have to change until that becomes a thing in my life, and then basically like I don't die. Or success, or evolution, or growth, or just basically when you want something, or when you desire something, or when you reflect on something in your life and kind of like just imagining it existing, automatically you're moving in that direction and changing towards it. So changing until it isn't necessary is practically because we're introducing ourselves to that thing. We're getting comfortable with that thing being a part of the reality that we have. And whether, again, it's a concept, it's a survival mechanism, it's a growth, there are always certain, like, if you distill, what we effectively are doing is getting to know in all aspects of which we have a whole idea that's close enough to the truth of what that thing is that we want in our reality. So if you're learning something new, and I think that's the easiest example, effectively there's that awkward stage where you're just literally like touching different parts of it. Whether it is, let's use carpentry, it's like getting familiar with the tools, understanding what they do, even though you still haven't built anything with it. And then eventually finding yourself just with everything you do regarding within the realm of that thing, like carpentry. You're kind of like moving your hands differently simply because you don't have to think about it anymore. Because like the first couple of times you go like, oh, I did it this way and this came out. And then eventually you're just like, this is what I want. And then your whole body kind of like understands and takes feedback on its own. And do we become changed at that point? Because ultimately, and I liked how I explained it earlier, because like we're trying to change for the sake of that thing. But whatever we're moving towards, right, we're expressing ourselves so it notices us. And then effectively, what happens is it starts reflecting itself through us and expressing itself through us. Because there are millions of carpenters, but sometimes some people do stuff with wood that make you kind of like go, wow, like you would never have thought wood could could be like this way. And that's not necessarily an expression of the carpenter himself. It is, but it's also an expression of the wood and its abilities that we weren't able to see before. So I think what I'm pointing at here is the fact that we keep we keep intentionally changing until it's not really necessary for us to actually be focusing on it, or at the very least, there's no point for us to change anymore because we're no longer the ones expressing something towards our goal, but our goal is expressing itself through us and basically showing the world how we where we are. And I think that's when we become change itself because we become when we first are pointing our intention and trying to express ourselves through something, then the thing starts expressing itself through us. Maybe that's what mastery is. It's a video.